According to YouTube, the number one search topic that bring people to my channel is F450. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What is an F450? What makes this truck unique, and who is this truck for? So number one, this F450 is an F450 pickup truck. It's a little bit different from the F450 cab chassis. It does not have as much payload as the cab chassis version, and it has more power. It has the normal pickup truck engine that you would get, not the derated engine, so you still have all the power, and it also comes with all the luxury that you can get. Although the cab chassis trucks are now starting to come with a lot more luxury. I think you can get leather in the cab chassis trucks now. For the guys that convert those trucks into like RV haulers, you can get higher trim levels with the cab chassis trucks, but you still can't quite get them trimmed out like you can a pickup truck. You can't get a cab chassis platinum, I don't think, whereas in the pickup truck form you can get like platinums and stuff like that. But pickup truck version of the F450 will allow you to get the higher trim levels. And another thing that a lot of people don't know is you can still get the A plan with the F450. So a lot of times you go to buy these trucks and dealers say you can't get the A plan. You can. I've done it a few different times. You just got to push them to do it, and ultimately they will do that for you. Another thing that's unique on the 450s, when you get to the wheels, you get 19.5 inch tires. You get 19.5 inch rims, commercial tires, larger brakes in the front and larger brakes in the rear. And in fact, in the rear of the F450, the brake pads are the same as they are in the front. They're literally interchangeable. So when you purchase brakes for your 450s, they will have literally the same pads across the whole thing. And this thing can really stop quick. It's one of the defining features of the truck. Is one of the things you notice right away when you drive one of these is the brakes freaking work good. One of the things though with these tires, for like real quick emergency stops, these tires can be a little squishy, but I know that over the years they've been I think Continental's been kind of playing with these tires a little bit, because they do seem better this year. It'd be like real hot days and they kind of seem like they want to slide a little more with the other F450 that I had, whereas this truck I haven't noticed that. So I think Continental's been playing with the chemistry on these tires a little bit. So you get bigger brakes front and rear. You get the same brake pads in the rear that you have in the front, and you get a 10 lug commercial tire. So 10 lugs instead of 8. Massive brakes all around in all four corners, which is going to mean a really expensive brake job when you finally get to that point. The rotors on this thing with the pads and all that is going to end up equating to a $3,000 brake job probably, and all that's probably going to get changed all at once. Rotors, pads, everything should probably get changed at once. That being said, we talked about the brakes. The frame is a little bit different on the F450 truck, so it's a little bit of a unique frame. I actually had an accident with one of these trucks, and they had to get a specific F450 pickup truck frame in order to get the truck back on the road. I had one ended up. So another difference on this truck, being a 450 pickup truck, is you get standard the 430 rear differential. So with this rear diff, you are also standard in a diesel engine, meaning a little bit higher RPMs on the highway. It means that you get through all of your gears at about 45 miles per hour. There's no more gears after that. And it means, like I said, a little bit more RPM on the freeway. So that's something to consider. I think that scares away a lot of people at first, because we all are looking at our fuel economy and we're thinking, how do we get our RPMs as low as possible while we cruise down the highway? But I can tell you that it's a little bit different of a game with the diesel engine, with the RPMs being a little bit higher. It's not that big a deal. I've done plenty of videos on this truck testing the MPG and all that, and it doesn't seem to be too negatively affected by the little bit of higher RPM. At about 80 miles an hour with the 10 speed, you're at like 2250 RPM, And if you had a 6-speed, you'd be at about 2,500 RPM, depending on what year of the truck you're looking at. Whether you're before the 10 speeds, you got a little bit more engine speed there. So what I've experienced with this truck, not too terrible of an MPG. So again, on the topic of who is this truck really for, there's a lot of guys out there that want to just drive this truck who aren't necessarily towing, but they're modifying their trucks. They're lifting them and they're putting bigger tires on them. So this works out pretty good for those kinds of people, because the 430 gear ratio will allow for some pretty big tires. You could put 37s on this and still be in a pretty good place with your engine speeds. If you have like a 3.3 rear diff, that's also available in Super Duties. If you put bigger tires on it, your 10th gear is going to be all messed up on the highway. Your RPMs are going to be too low. So the 430 gear setup kind of sets you up for the ability to add bigger tires to the truck. Also with the F450, you're going to get a bigger fuel tank, 48 gallons, standard fuel tank. I'm not sure if you get that on the regular cab, but this pickup truck version of this truck is only available with a diesel engine in a crew cab or a regular cab. And this is going to be the way to get the most towing from Ford. I believe the highest towing version of this is going to be the regular cab truck, kind of stripped down. And when you look at the towing on these, let's just take a look at the bumper on the hitch. Look at that. On these ones, they just stopped putting that on the hitch. So you've got to go to the manual now for towing. But this is going to be the highest towing vehicle. I believe it tows like something like 40,000 pounds or something. I can't remember exactly. But comment below if you know the exact towing numbers on this. But this is going to be probably the highest towing pickup truck available. And whether from Ford or from any of the manufacturers, Ford tries to stay on top of the towing with their 450 pickups. So 8-foot bed is going to be standard, and another standard feature with the F450 is going to be the wide track front axle, which I know a lot of people already know about, but basically sticks out 3 inches more on each side, so a total of 6 inches wider, and it turns sharper. So this 450 long truck can actually maneuver sharper than the short bed pickup truck with a crew cab without the wide track front axle. So you get a much larger truck but retain a lot of the maneuverability of a smaller truck. So more capacity, more bed space, crew cab, but still can do hairpin turns. This thing really can turn on a dime because of the front axle. But on the topic of axles, basically you've got the heavy duty axles of the 450, very similar to what you get in the cab chassis, but your gross vehicle weight rating is capped on this truck at 14,000 pounds, and that cap avoids a ton of regulations, but it ultimately means that it has less payload than a 350 dually. So if payload's your main concern, maybe like a hot shot type of driver or something like that, then a 350 might actually be better. But this truck has more capability than a 350, but just doesn't have it all on paper. So when you take one of these 450s to the max payload or maybe a little bit further, it's super stable. I mean, the components are incredibly beefy. Look under here at just how huge the sway bar is. The axles are actually overrated for what they are. You got the larger brakes, so technically it can handle more than a 350 dually, but on paper it just doesn't handle more than a 350 dually. I think if you drove them both side by side, the 450 would perform better. I think you'd actually notice that it performs better, being that it has bigger brakes than a 350, bigger axles, better gearing for hauling and towing with the 430 is not available in the 350 dually, and I think it will perform better. The commercial tires inflate to higher PSI than the 350 dually. It just on paper won't have more payload than the 350 dually, but it will have more towing. So in my area, for some of the payload stuff in the winter time, we rarely ever get called out on that. I think for towing a big trailer, sure, but just no trailer on the truck and loaded with material being over payload, I don't think we've never had anybody pulling us over or anything like that for that type of payload in my areas. But if that's something in your area that's a big concern, DOT, police, and stuff like that, actually weighing trucks that aren't even connected to trailers, then that's something to really watch out for. This truck's payload is about 5,000 pounds, which is pretty good, but it's not that much. We're at 5,001 pounds of payload available. And if this was an F450 cab chassis, then that truck might actually have a lot more available payload than this, probably 6,000 or 7,000. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, I just wanted to do a quick video. What makes an F450 an F450? Who's the truck for? Can it be daily driven? I think it's been working out pretty good as a daily driver for me, and it could be for anybody. If you want to modify your vehicle and put like 22s or something on it, good platform for that, just for the fact that it gives you that gear ratio that you can put any size tire that'll fit up in this truck. You can put on this and still have a usable truck. Or just, work. You can put your family in it after work, and it can tow anything, haul anything. So really, it's up to anybody. I do think it would be a tragedy to have one of these trucks and never tow anything. That's probably not a good thing to do. But for me, we do tow quite a bit. This is our dump trailer that we tow with the truck. And it's only a 16,000 pound trailer, but that platform tows it pretty good. It's a lot better than the 350 single rear wheel, and the tongue weights on this thing tend to run pretty heavy, so the 450 does come in handy from time to time for me. But anyway, guys, my name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. Drop me a sub and hope to hear from you soon. Over and out.